Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andy from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. In this episode of Quilting on the Side, we want to talk about how to take your business seriously. And this topic was actually suggested by a listener. So keep those comments coming and maybe your idea will be featured next.
So this suggestion about taking your business seriously really got me thinking about the transition between having quilting as a hobby and moving into a business space, so actually making it a business, and what kind of steps you need to take in order to create a business from your hobby.
Yeah, I think we all started out at the hobby stage. When we got into quilting, we were making things for ourselves. We may make gifts for family and friends and the occasional special request from the neighbor down the street. But we were spending all of our own money at the hobby stage. And then moving into a business exists to make a profit. So that's the big difference there. And you are selling something as a business. You might be teaching other people or providing a service for those other people, the other quilters. So having that shift to a business thinking and that profit goal and orientation can be a challenge. What do you remember from starting out, Tori?
Yeah, I remember. So when I first started, I was looking for a business. I was looking for a way to make money. So I did an inventory of my skills, which was I had two that I could think of, which one was baking because I really enjoyed baking, and the other one was quilting. So I tried both at the same time. I tried making cupcakes as a business for 3 weeks, and I realized that I make really good tasting cupcakes, but they did not look good. So I dropped the cupcakes and stuck with the quilting. So my mindset was from the get-go, because usually when you meet people in the quilting industry that have a business, the business have grown from their hobby. And mine was similar, but I made a very intentional decision to move it from a hobby to a business because I saw the potential in the skills that I had from my hobby of quilting. And I think that mindset shift is really important and crucial when you are ready to start making money from your skill set and moving it from a skill set you're doing just because you enjoy it and moving into a business mindset and use those skills to create an offer or a service or a product. Now, what do you remember about your shift?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind when you talk about that mindset is almost taking on a new persona as a business entity, and that business is separate from you, which is hard sometimes. Yes. With hobby crafters that are so wrapped up in what they do, and a lot of times you use your name as your business and it's hard to separate, but you really do need to be able to set it aside. And it just brings to mind that image of the solo business person who's wearing all the hats, and you have to sometimes put on different hats in your business, and then you can take all the hats off and just be yourself when you are doing your hobby and taking that break from the business minded stuff.
Yeah, and it takes practice. It took me a couple of years to really get in the mindset that this is a business. I am a business owner. And it took me seeing it as a business first before I really got the support from many people outside my immediate support system. So as soon as I took it seriously, everyone else took it seriously. I think that's important to mention too.
Yeah, definitely. And I heard a story from another quilter that she has a sweater that she wears like when she sits down to write her business emails or do her accounting. She puts on that because that's like her business owner uniform, and it just helps with that mindset. And having a dedicated space, whether I know a lot of people are working from home and they may not have the space to have a dedicated office, but you may be sharing a desk or a computer with your family. But if you have your business notebook and get that out, and it really helps set the mood. So anything you can do to elevate yourself above just doing this for fun,
Yeah.
because we're business people and we're in it to make a profit.
That makes me laugh about the business notebook because when I started, I got a set of colored pens, and those were my planning out my calendar pens, and it made me feel like I had a plan, even though I was still trying to figure it out. But it helped. It did. It helped.
Yeah, any of those little tricks we can do to trigger the correct mindset. But then besides the mindset, there's some specific things you need to do to set yourself up as a business. What do you remember what you did first to
You
get all
did.
set up?
I do. Okay. So once I decided this is going to be a business and I'm going to make more than $600 a month, because I remember that being a cutoff way back when I started. So I was going to make more than that. So I needed to get serious. So what does a business need? So from there, I realized I needed to register my business. I needed to pick a legal entity for my business. So whether that is an LLC, whether that is an S corp, did I say the right S?
Core, yeah.
Yeah, S corp. Okay, I'm not totally well versed in it, but this is something to look up and figure out which entity is going to work best for you for tax reasons and all of that. And then you need to set up a license. So you got to look up your licensing. And we talked a little bit about that with our episode on expenses. So if you want to know a little bit more about how we broke that down, you can look up that episode, which let me go ahead and
We'll have
grab
to
that
put
real
that
quick.
in the show notes because I
Yeah.
don't remember off the top of my head.
I was like, maybe I can, because I'm on the site. So and then once you've got your licensing, and you want to look at not just your town's licensing, you want to look at your state, your federal, look at the federal level, the state level, city level, and then even county level when it comes to licensing. And just to check to make sure you don't need anything extra when it comes to offering a service or selling a product within that area. And just make sure you got all your ducks in a row there. And then setting up a separate business account.
Checking
That was
account at the
it.
bank, right? That's what you're
Yes,
talking about.
yes. It took me 3 years to do that. I was terrified. Okay, I was terrified to take that step, but I did it, and it was liberating, honestly, and it made me really feel like a business owner, and it held me accountable. So, Andy, what was your experience when setting up your business entity?
Yeah, it was similar. I think the very first step I took was to get my federal employer identification number, EIN. And that is a fairly simple process. Just go online, submit your information, and then you have the government thinks of you as a business. So you're a business from that point on. And that number is helpful for filling out the rest of the paperwork, getting wholesale accounts, that kind of thing, um, as you move forward. And then you were talking about the licensing. Oh, and I do want to say, disclaimer, we are not lawyers, we are not accountants, we are just recounting our story. We are not giving any type of legal advice to anyone. So you need to do your own research, contact professionals in your area. So just to set that clear.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got my tax ID number. I did go pretty quickly to the bank and set up a separate account, just because you as we said, you have two separate things. You have your personal stuff and you have your business. And yes, money transfers back and forth. I do that all the time. Sometimes I need to put a little extra funds from my personal account to cover a business expense, and sometimes I can take that owner's draw, pay myself from my business to cover household expenses. So that's fine. And then we were talking about business licenses. I did go down to my city hall and register my business. And you were saying that you have to do your own research as to what type of business you're going to start. The ones I'm most familiar with is the S Corp is the sole proprietor. It's just you running your business. So that's the most common for people. I was talking to a bookkeeper a few years ago. I had an orientation session and they were recommending the LLC because it offers you some legal protection. It really sets up the business as its own persona, and it protects your personal finances, I guess. It really puts a legal split between your personal finances and your business accounts. But the drawback is it costs a little bit more to get set up as an LLC. A lot of people may wait until they reach a certain level of profitability to take that extra legal step. So once you've got all your licenses and checking account and things and you're rolling with stuff, what have you felt you need to do beyond that?
My next step was to figure out when I was going to be a business. So what I mean by that is setting dedicated time for myself to do my job. So I had to picture myself as going to work, even though I was still at home. My kid was asleep when I started my business. So really I wasn't going anywhere, but mentally I had to step away from being a mom and step into being a business owner. And what are the key things I needed to figure out and get done in my short span of 2 hours while he napped, so that I could get done what I needed to get done. So setting aside dedicated time, and that can be whenever you get the time. So that can be a dedicated time every day. It could be once or twice a week where you're fitting in 3 to 4 hours a week to get this done, or it could be the weekend. So you could have like right now, my situation where I work full time and I have this side business, I work about an hour almost every evening. I do take quite a few, I shouldn't say every evening, like every other evening, I work about an hour. And then I spend my lunch break usually on social media, studying the trends and like looking for different things like that. And then on the weekend, I have 6 hours on Saturday morning where me and my husband have worked out. Those 6 hours are my time to teach. It's my time to record. It's my time to plan and to research and to do my business things that I have to absolutely done. And I need like a block of time to do it. So you can fit in that time whenever you can, but you do need to set that time into a, let me try that again. You need to set aside dedicated time, whether that is sporadic or in certain blocks. And that way you can schedule it ahead of time and you can protect that time so that you can actually be a business.
Yep, that is important. And one of the key things that I had to do early on was set monthly reminders for sales tax. Because that kind of flows with the checking account and setting up with the state. And that, I think, scares a lot of people. But again, do your research online. Many states will have little webinars, free videos on their government websites that tell you about sales tax reporting. And depending on how you set up your business, you can report your taxes for the month, for the quarter, or do it on a yearly basis. So I just happen to have checked the box for monthly reporting at the beginning, and it took me a while. I ended up paying a stupidity fee several times because I forgot to report, and I felt like a much better business owner when I managed to not pay that fee anymore and get my sales tax reports in on time. So I did want to help educate our listeners a little bit, because I found for my state, there are two categories of um, deductions, is actually what it's called, because you report your sales, and then obviously sales tax is a percentage of whatever you sold. And that can be a use tax. So that's on the goods that you are using to sell. Or if I was like selling my books to a shop, and so it's a use for resale. Or if I'm buying fabric from someone, that's where it's tax exempt, because I'm going to use that fabric to make something that's offered for sale. So that category gets subtracted from your amount of sales. And then your retail tax is what we assume sales tax is. It's that percentage that we are paying the state when we have sold something as a retailer. Those are the two categories that I pay most attention to and figure into my sales tax. But it was a little bit of a study process
Yes.
to figure out the formulas and what I need to do. And over the years, it has gotten easier as the state set up their online automatic reporting, and I didn't need my own spreadsheet because they've got it all built into the website. So just don't hide from it. Just figure it out. Everybody's smart and capable. We can do this, and be legal and take care of all your responsibilities.
Yes. I want to throw out there, look at the tax deductions. Talk to your CPA. My uncle's a CPA. He does our taxes. We pay him in Girl Scout cookies. So that's really where I have help at, is my wonderful uncle does ours. And what was I going to say? Oh, the deductions. Make sure you're looking at what you can deduct and get as that money back.
Yeah. Yeah, get
Get
your
your money
refunds
back when
for
it comes
that.
to
Yeah.
taxes.
And the other thing that may come in with quilters, especially, are the equipment that we use. You can see my long arm here behind me. And yeah, for the first several years, that's a depreciating asset, and that's a line item on your taxes. So yeah, you definitely want to figure that out. But again, we're not CPAs. We
No,
can't go into any specific advice on that kind of stuff. But we do have a great resource to share with our audience. You said you went down a rabbit hole on a
oh, yes.
website.
I went down a rabbit hole on Paper and Spark, and she has some amazing resources. So we're going to definitely share her website with you guys. And she specializes in crafters and creatives, especially like Etsy shops and things like that. That seems to be her specialty. And it looked amazing. Like I spent 2 hours on there the other day when I was supposed to be working. It was a slow day.
Well,
And I got fascinated with what she was offering, and her email funnel is amazing. I'm just going to say, so if you might go down a rabbit hole, so just beware on that. But she has amazing, beware as in set some time aside because she has some amazing resources.
yeah, I have gone back to her website year after year because she has good information on sales tax, and she breaks down some of the specific terminology and the differences for various states. She does have a lot of resources for Etsy sellers, Shopify, and I found her because she has spreadsheets that you can purchase, and then it makes it really easy to track your income and your expenses. So that's where I found her. But then she also has this library of knowledge on her blog too. So yeah, lots of things to check out at Paper and Spark. So once you get all those kind of nitty gritty details worked out, you've figured out your business license, and you've got your checking account set up, you're taking care of your sales tax obligations. What are some of the other things that you do that really set you up for success in the marketplace as a business?
Well, if we're going into the marketplace, we want to talk about marketing a little bit. So when you first start out, you can keep it very simple. You don't necessarily need a website right off the bat. And we have talked about this a bit. You don't need a website right away, but I would encourage you to start your email list right away. So getting an email list going, getting a service provider, an email service provider that has landing pages is a great way to start without needing to build a website. You can always build a website later. You can start with just an email service provider. There are many that offer free and low cost starts, and just start that email list. Start talking about your business, saying, I'm in business. If you want to hear from me, sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my email list, and just offer them the landing page. And your landing page can be as simple as you're asking for their name and their email. It doesn't have to have anything else other than this is signing up for my newsletter, and you can unsubscribe at any time. It can be that simple. Don't overthink it. Just get it started. That way you have a way to reach out to your audience when you're ready to launch, when you're ready to announce anything, when you have something available for them, more than just saying, hey, I started a business, which is also very exciting. But you can start very simple. And then I know that many of us, if we're going from the hobby space into business, we're usually already on social media, and we're already sharing our projects, we're sharing our hobby, and we're moving into the business realm. So when you start really committing to turning this into a business, you want to think about what you're sharing on social media. This is when you need to start your business profile. You need to have it separate from your private. Now, you can turn your private one into a business page fairly easy on most platforms, but what you're sharing needs to shift a little bit. Keep in mind that you are approaching the marketplace and you're approaching it as a business. So what you want to be sharing is going to be tied to your business and tied to your brand or your future brand.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be posting about, or you could still post about your family, but you may want to keep it brief. You may want to think about if the public, because one thing I like to keep in mind and to call attention to is children on social media. When it comes to posting about families, I have a strong policy on not showing my children's faces. I don't feel comfortable showing that on my business page. Now, you might see the back of their heads, you might see the side a little bit, but I'm really avoid posting full frontal facial pictures of my children. And that's just a personal preference for me. But that's something to keep in mind as you start moving into the business space is how much do you want to show of your personal life? And then what are you going to be sharing about your business? So if you're a pattern designer, it's great to show anything to do with your projects, anything to do with color selection. However, you may want to stick with what you're going to want to sell in the future rather than sharing every single thing you're doing. If you're a person who likes to share every single thing, it will confuse your audience if you're posting about your dogs, which are adorable, or your children, which are amazing, and also your quilting and your long arming and your EPP project that you've been doing every other weekend for 20 minutes, but you're making awesome progress on it. It looks amazing. And you're also posting about your trip you're going to take next week. And you're also posting about business. And you're also posting about your work because you're also in a day job. All those topics are going to confuse your audience. And when you're ready to sell something, they're not going to fully realize that you are a business. All of a sudden, you're just asking for money. So keep your themes. And that's something to keep in mind is a theme for your social media. And pick a few themes that you can play with within your business. Sharing your dogs is always fun because, of course, they're adorable. Or cats, like Andy has cats.
Yeah.
And maybe cats with quilts could be a great way to incorporate like both of those things. And then your projects you're working on, and maybe that awesome trip you're going to go on next week that also has to do with quilting, like keeping it under the same umbrella so that everyone realizes that you are a business, but you're also a person. So it helps that balance without overwhelming and confusing your audience. And I hope I didn't go too deep into that.
Yeah, we can get going on marketing stuff. We certainly have other episodes that talk about how to get those things set up. But just as the bare bones reminder for taking your business seriously, remember that you have a separate business persona than your personal life. So that goes for your bank accounts, that goes for your social media accounts, and if it helps to actually get a hat and put it on when you're working on your business, then do that. But we know that it can be a lonely endeavor sometimes when you're hiding away for those couple hours away from your family and friends to work on this business. But we are here for you, and we thank you for spending time with us. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.